Here we go. Good morning, Ayton again, and I'm dog walking as usual. It's a still day actually. There's no breeze really going on. It's very flat seas, a few boats out there. No one's got the sails up because there's not a lot of breeze. In the last conversation, we were talking about some of the AI basics and AI fundamentals, and what AI is and what it isn't, and that stemmed from a lot of people saying to me, you know, everyone talks about AI, but what do you think, Nick? You know, and how do you sort of process it, and what is it you think it is? And from that point of view, I've just started digging into some of the basics, and I think it will be very useful. I think it'll be very useful now to go into it a bit more in terms of the opportunities, the fears, the concerns, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you like. And I wrote an article on my Medium channel and on the Thinkers channel, and also if you subscribe to my Substack channel, which is specifically for investors, really. So I sort of give people hints at what I think are the hot areas and try and find a bit of contextual background to why these areas are hot, so the investor can understand it a bit more. But here's some thoughts on an AI, artificial intelligence. We've talked about artificial, we've talked about intelligence, we've talked about humans, we've talked about how some of the learning goes on, we've talked about how computation works, we've talked about, you know, some of the basic things around AI, what it is and what it isn't. So let's imagine that you have software code, and the software code is developed and matured, and it's starting to understand all the rules and all of the options that you've asked it to do. But also, because you've given the rules some scope in terms of what you're looking for, artificial intelligence then can help sort of creep that scope out. It can actually adjust some of the parameters, if you allow it, to widen the search, to widen the opportunity to find the right answer. In a sense, you're parameterizing and saying, look for this, don't look for that, look for this, don't look for that, which is more efficient because you have to process this stuff. But then within certain conditions and boundaries, you can say to the routines, you know, if you're not finding the answer, then you can adjust yourself. Or if you're finding this answer, adjust yourself and see if you can correlate it and go deeper and get a more definitive outcome. So in a sense, what we're talking about is these algorithms that start adjusting themselves, because they're focusing on the outcome that you've asked them. Say, I want this, I want the answer for this, I want you to look at this, that, and the other. But then you're leaving the option for the software code to widen and change the parameterization of some of the scope they have to play with in delving into finding the right answer, whether that's expanding the data set, looking differently at the data set, or what have you. This is all quite basic stuff, but hopefully it gives you an idea that when people start thinking about, oh, this software code is starting to think for itself, in a sense it's sort of true that it's adjusting, but in a sense it's very artificial, isn't it? It's not really thinking, it's adjusting based on what it's finding, and if what it's finding based on the original instructions and parameters isn't the answer that we're looking for, then we're allowing that software code to adjust so we can get to the right objective or the right outcome. So hopefully that gives you a bit more context in one of the areas on how these AI models learn, how they adjust. And it is the rate of learning which is the interesting area really. But once you've got some of these models sort of adjusted to learning some rules, for example, then in a sense, if it knows chess and it's a broader model, then you can point it at any game and it will start actually understanding the rules of that game, and then over a short period of time it can But it's very narrow. It's very narrow sort of objective, if you like, which is there is a game being played. There are moves you can make. There's moves you can't make. There are strategies and tactics you can do to improve your outcome, and there are strategies and moves you can make that means that you're disadvantaged. So it's interesting, isn't it? So when you start peeling back the layers, you start thinking about, well, okay, I understand how these models now not really think for themselves, but how they adjust themselves, and then they can learn more. But is it intelligent? We'll talk about that in the next conversation. Bye for now.